Now we own this wrecked Honda that should have been written off. It was sent to market, and now, unfortunately, unknowingly, we bought this car. Yes, we even had a Carfax. The salespeople actually provided us with a Carfax at the time that we bought this car, and it even showed that there was $0 associated with a big accident history. There was a small accident, something like $2,000. We were fine with that. But unfortunately, there was a much bigger one looming, and it wasn't written on the Carfax, or we didn't see it on the Carfax when we bought the car. The accident happened way back in January of 2020, but we bought the car in February of 2021. There was a year in between. So why was the Carfax not updated? But apparently it wasn't, because when we bought the car, we thought we were getting a little gem. We paid just under $8,000 or just under $9,000 for this car. And unfortunately, what we realized was recently when we tried to sell this car, what we have now is a car that had about $15,000 damage to it, and now nobody wants to buy it. And the only reason we realized that is because we went to sell it. Somebody, the newer prospective buyers, pulled the VIN on there, and of course, then lo and behold, they said, no, we're not interested. And that's how we found out that this car now has this huge repair underneath the skin. Now, where do we go from here? At the end of the video, first of all, I'm going to share with you, if you want to understand a little bit more of the leading up to this, how did we get to this place? How did we actually buy this car? The situation that we were involved with. You're definitely going to want to check it out at the end of the video. I'll kind of spell that out for you, the whole storyline. But right now, here we have this car. It's a 2012. We like it. It's been running well. Mechanically, it's fine. It's got 100,000 miles on it. And it's been a little gem. We even drove it to California last year. But now we have this car that has this huge accident history to it. I'd like to try to understand. I've got to now debate. What do we do with this car? And maybe if any of you have any suggestions down below in the comment section, please do drop a line. I'd like to hear more about that, what you'd suggest doing, because we're sort of at our wit's end. We test drove the car, we bought it, we drove it for 4 years, and now realizing it has this major accident history associated with it. I even went down to the dealership that sold us this car and tried to quiz them on it. They're drawing blanks. I don't know. You have what we have. And so here we are now. We have a car that has this massive accident history. We were thinking about selling it, maybe trading it in. You know, it's time. We've owned it for just over around 4 years now, 4.5 years. And we're thinking, you know, it's time to maybe upgrade, sell, buy it, buy something different, trade this in. And so that's where we're at right now. But what do? Do we run the wheels off this vehicle? Or is there anything else you think we should do? I mean, ultimately, who's accountable in this conversation? Or is it us? Maybe for not even more due diligence. You know, maybe we needed to pull another Carfax. I don't know. But we had a Carfax that was apparently, allegedly up to date. So when we bought the car, it was current apparently, and it did say that there was no other damage in terms of dollar amount. They did recognize that there was a minor damage on January 8th of 2020. But that being said, it just said minor. But then when we pulled the newer Carfax, it said minor/moderate front and front right. So that means front and front right means that there was a much more substantial. So it went from a minor accident to a minor moderate accident, which meant that now it was a $15,000 hit, to which we have, it's apparently no recourse. But here we have this car. So we could run the wheels off it, run it till there's nothing left, or continue to pursue other options. And what other options are those? Well, I think about this. And so what I did was I made a list. I reached out to Carfax. Now, Carfax is really working more for the dealerships. You can tell because there's a dealership portal. What I realized is Carfax is really meant more for the dealerships and not for the consumer. And so think about that from that perspective. Think about whose best interests are they covering? Is it yours or is it the dealership's perspective? Who are they really covering? Now, I know it's a great tool for the consumer, and we always advocate and say, you know what, when you buy a used car, you want to get a Carfax report, make sure that you can get a little bit of a history on, you know, how many owners, registry, you know, the registration dates, where it was registered, whether it was written off. But we also know that in the US, and there's areas that people are title washing. So you take a vehicle out of state to a state that doesn't recognize, or they have different protocols in the registration process. And there's a lot of that shady business going on in the US right now, where they're doing title washing, where it might have some accident history in one state. They take it, get it totally recertified and re-registered in another state, and then it's clean. we know this is going on. We also know that there's all kinds of mileage blockers that people put on these things. We know that people can give it a good polish and a good detailing, and next thing you know, they can sell it for something that it maybe isn't. But I don't know if this applies in any of this. So what I did was I reached out to Carfax and I made a list of questions. I referred to the Carfax number because they're asking for a particular, the code. There's a bit of a reference code number. They also asked for the VIN. So I provide that information, the VIN, Carfax information, the report, as well as my own personal information. And then I had a host of questions because they have this, it's a portal, but it says you need to be a dealer to log into this portal. Otherwise, generalized questions go to this sort of this abyss. And that's what I call it, sort of this empty tank of despair, if you will. And so what I found was you can ask all these questions, and I did. I had a host of questions. One question I asked was, do you have any more information on this vehicle? Does Carfax not have the reporting structure in place to make sure that things are up to date in a timely fashion? I also asked questions like, how is it that insurance companies could advocate for a $15,000 repair when the vehicle was only worth $8,000 or $9,000 at the time? How is that even possible? And so now I'm kind of waiting for that response. Because at this point in time, other than going to Carfax to see what their history is, oh yeah, there was one other thing too. I also asked them if I could get my hands on the invoice from the body shop, because I did that once before. I had a car years ago that I bought, and I knew it had an accident history, or it had a damage history to it, but it didn't really say, and it was from an out of province. So I couldn't request it through Carfax. Carfax deferred, and I had to go through, in this case it was ICBC, so it was the province over. They had their own reporting process and their own system. So I had to go to ICBC, go to the registries. They kind of deferred. It kind of got bounced around, but ultimately they ended up sending me a copy of the body shop invoice. They scratched out the ownership name and some of the other pertinent details, but they basically gave me the body shop invoice. And in doing that, I was able to see that all the things that were repaired on my previous car really more were associated with a comprehensive claim rather than a collision claim. So then I knew right away it was probably just, maybe it got sprayed with gravel and it was a respray, and I knew there was no metal work. I knew they replaced headlights, but there was no metal work, so I knew there was no accident history. There was no structural body parts replaced. It was just a little bit of paint work and plastic. Probably got sprayed with gravel, and that's ultimately, even the person that sent me that report suggested it was probably really just something simple like that. So what I'm realizing is I've got to chase this down, and now going to Carfax with some of these questions. I'd like to see the body shop invoice. I'd like to understand how the insurance company would advocate. I'd like to understand as well if that report was current at the time on that date stamp. You see, I want to trace this back because I want to understand when they updated that number. So when they updated from $0 to $15,000 on the Carfax for damage for this car, what was that date that was updated? Because we all know they'll have all that. That's all automated. That's all computer processing. It's nothing more than doing a little bit of background legwork, and they should be able to pull that information. So if I see that information was pulled out before we bought the car, then there's going to be another conversation with the dealership. If that information was updated to $15,000 repair after I bought the car, well, then the dealership's off the hook. But till that time, I don't have anything to go by. So right now, I'm waiting to either make one of two decisions. Number one, do I just keep driving this car? Because let's face it, Hondas are great cars, and it took us to California and back, and we put a lot of miles. We've honestly put 100,000 miles on this car since we bought it. And so it's been a great car. It's been a great car. Actually, not 100,000 kilometers, sorry, 60,000 miles since we bought the car. So it has been good, and no complaints mechanically, but body-wise, I gotta ask the question. And again, I could keep driving the wheels off and it wouldn't matter to me. Personally, at this point, we'll just keep running it, and that's always an option. But we were hoping to use full market value for this car against a trade-in on a newer vehicle. That was the plan, and that's how we came to this problem in the first place. This is how we figured out that there was an issue. this is how we figured out that there was much more substantial damage. I gotta wait to hear back from Carfax, because Carfax is gonna be sort of the key to this. They're gonna be the people that are holding the key, if you will. The key to the storyline here. Because that's where all the information is hinging right now. And the worst part is, every single day across this nation, across US, Canada, across the globe, people are getting snookered, buying wrecked cars that are rebadged, refixed. We know there's a lot of sneaky tactics. We know a lot of people, rental companies, they'll run into a pole, a customer will bang something, and instead of them claiming it through insurance, which is going to crank up their deductible and change everything, and their costs are going to go through the roof, sometimes they'll just take it to their Joe's body shop around the corner that they know, and they'll get them to fix that up. They'll drive it for another 2 years and rent it out, and then they'll hit an auction and they don't have to answer for it. And so that's what typically happens with small fender benders and other little incidents. A lot of, you know, a lot of these little shops and a lot of these rental companies and a lot of places will do that. Little fender benders, they'll a lot of times just fix it themselves. But at $15,000, very few people are going to fix that themselves. And clearly, if it made the Carfax, the latest Carfax, it must have went through the law enforcement, and it likely went through insurance. And so at what point, what's the timing in all of this? I'd like to understand a little bit more as I dig in, because now I've sent that note. That's the latest that I've done, of course, with this car and the wrecked Honda, is I've requested to Carfax for more information. And for now, we're going to keep driving it. It's a great little car. It's good on gas. It's reliable. We've just done a pile of maintenance on it. I just did some servicing, and quite honestly, it's a great ride. But I'm not very satisfied with the situation right now, because we definitely got rooked, scammed or ripped off, or somehow something fell through the cracks. Now, point that I want to make as well is, think about what was going on in 2020, 2021. We all know people were sitting at home. So were there some people at Carfax working from home, updating this information? Were there insurance company people working from home, updating their information? Like, all this work from home was maybe having an impact, maybe not. There was a lot of, we know there was a lot of confusion. There was a lot of, I don't know. There was delays in everything, let's put it that way. There was delays in getting cars. You wanted to buy a new Toyota, you had to wait 1.5 to 2 years to get a hybrid Toyota. So there was a lot of wait. There was a lot of sit around and hurry up and wait. We know there was a lot of that. And so could that have been a contributing factor to this? Could this all just be a simple misunderstanding? Maybe it is. But as time goes on, I'm going to share more of this information with you, because I know you're going to want to understand, when I get down to the bottom of this, what was the absolute root cause and what is the outcome of this. Because I'm not satisfied with the information. I feel like I'm getting the runaround. I feel like it's everybody's throwing their hands in the air. I don't know. That's just fine. You know, and the solution that was recommended to me by another general manager basically said, you know what, just list it on Marketplace and just keep rotating it through, drop it $50 every week, keep dropping it so it keeps refreshing to the top of the list. But I still don't feel right about that. I feel like I have to be straight up, I have to be forthcoming, and I don't feel that others were forthcoming with us. And that's why I never would have bought this car if I knew it had a $15,000 repair tag to it. Who would? But that's what some of these dealers, and I don't know about this dealer. I can't say that because I don't know that yet. We're going to find that out. But I do know there's other dealers that will do that just for the sake of trying to make a sale and flip a car for $180. But anyway, if you want to hear more of the storyline, for now, this is where I'm at. And I'm going to share, as this story continues on, once we know a little bit more and I get more information from Carfax, I'll be sure to share that with you. Be sure as well, right there, check out the storyline leading up to this. You're definitely going to want to hear a lot more of it. If you haven't heard it already, check it out. Hope to see each and every one of you on the next one, everybody. See you then. Bye-bye.